Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 5. I was going to do just 4 parts, but I still have more news. It's just, it's crazy how it works out, but usually try to stick with 3. But since I'm just, coming back after a week, I'm ready to just do 5, whatever it takes, however long it takes to get through the news that I planned. So we're going to continue with eco-terrorism, and we'll get into some eugenics in this 5th video. Groundbreaking investigation reveals Monsanto teaming up with the U.S. military to target GMO activists. We've already covered this about activists, especially fracking, and activists being treated like insurgents or terrorists. Well, basically all protesters are going to be treated like terrorists. A hard-hitting investigative report recently published by German newspapers uncovered details about tactics being used by chemical giant Monsanto in assuming control of global agriculture. I don't know if they're assuming control, I think they pretty much have it, but by way of government authority. According to this thorough analysis, Monsanto appears to be aggressively targeting independent researchers, scientists, activists, and basically others opposed to genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, by utilizing the vast resources and manpower of both the United States federal government and the American military-industrial complex. So, a conspicuously large number of Monsanto critics report regular attacks by professional hackers. So, they detail how both individuals and groups opposed to GMOs and other chemical-based crop technologies have been threatened, hacked, slandered, and terrorized for daring to digress from the pro-GMO status. Moving on here, we have groundbreaking new study says they're linking GMOs to leukemia. So there's lots of scientists, or what they call scientists, otherwise known as academics on Monsanto's payroll, who keep spouting the preposterous statement that there was no real science to back up the claims that GMO are bad for our health, but yet another study basically says otherwise. Recently published in the Journal of Hematology and, thrombia. I'm not even going to try this, but some kind of disease. The study underscores the potential leukemia properties of the Bt toxin biopesticides used in almost all GMO foods that are currently planted in more than 3.9 million acres of crops in the United States. A few months ago, references to GMO were made by scientists in France who conducted a study that pinpointed Monsanto's GMO corn, called NK603, as a major cancer-causing agent. Rats develop cancerous tumors the size of ping-pong balls. The study was called into question, however, by academics under Monsanto's reign. We have scientists confirming pesticides kill American honeybees. Honeybees are quickly disappearing from the U.S., a phenomenon that has left scientists baffled, but new research shows that bees exposed to common agricultural chemicals while pollinating U.S. crops are less likely to resist a parasitic infection. Scientists from the University of Maryland and the USDA on Wednesday published a study that linked chemicals including fungicides to mass die-offs. Basically colony collapse disorder, in which an estimated 10 million beehives at an average value of $200 each have been lost since 2006. Last winter, the honeybee population declined by 31%, with some beekeepers reported losses of 900 to 100%. I remember hearing about this in 2008 on the news, basically colony collapse disorder, and what is it, as they're spraying us as well, but Washington rejects restriction on honeybee killing garden pesticide despite evidence of its deadlines. So officials of the Department of Agriculture are refusing to act on a request to restrict a certain class of backyard pesticides that are suspected of killing off scores of honeybees. From this Yakima Herald Republic newspaper, they announced the decision Thursday following a 60-day review of a petition submitted by Thurston County commissioners. The county, at the request of the beekeepers, asked the department on April 8th to limit basically residential use of these pesticides used to kill aphids, weevils, and other insects on ornamental plants. The insecticides are also used on crops, but limits on those uses were not basically requested. The EU just imposed a 2-year ban on these pesticides. And you have dead bees, Monsanto's genetically engineered seeds killing off honeybees from May 6, 2013. July 26th of this year, pesticides contaminating critters in California's national parks. Pesticides from California's Valley Farms are collecting in the tissues of a singing tree frog that lives in the pristine national parks, including Yosemite. The chemicals include 2 fungicides never before found wild frogs, said the author and a U.S. Geological Survey research hydrologist. So it was published today. Fungicides have been registered for use for many years. NBC Host says newborn infants don't count as alive unless parents decide they do. So it says basically it's kind of like a post-birth abortion is a new abortion. And we've covered that before about these, quote, experts. They actually say that it's still, how do they put that, morally permissible or acceptable, basically. So, because they say that, it's, my body, my right, so it's infringing on the mother's right. They said they need to premise this article with a disclaimer. This article is not about abortion, it's about the murder of children after they are born, because once a child is born alive, terminating that life is no longer a choice. It's murder by every legal and moral standard. So, because while abortion friends and foes can argue about when life begins in the womb, no one disagrees that a child born alive is alive, do they? Indeed they do, as MSNBC talking head Melissa Harris Perry insists that life only begins when the parents have a feeling that it begins. When does life begin? But it goes on here and it says that in one stroke she simultaneously condones the murder of newborn infants, i.e. post-birth abortion, while attacking the science of biology, which states that a living, breathing infant with a heartbeat and brain function is alive and not dead. In the same circles as Harris Perry are now publicly arguing that it is okay for parents to kill their children up to age 3. This is now being promoted as post-birth abortion. That's what I was referring to by the earlier. It was called a fourth trimester abortion by a clever pollster who recently took to the streets of a George Mason University to find summertime college students who would sign a petition legalizing fourth trimester abortions. Nearly all who were asked to sign the petition did so. So that's what good education gets you, and that's why they want it in Afghanistan and all parts of the world where they're bombing. It says here, one of the college students even asked whether the procedure would cause harm to the child. Well, the child wouldn't be there anymore, responded the pollster, after which the college student then proceeded to sign the petition. So you type in that thing, you can look for the video. MSNBC Host says, just go ahead and you can see it, pause it, and type it in. Teenager gives birth and beats newborn to death on camping trip, says police. 18-year-old girl named Alicia Morales gave birth inside a tent in Michigan's Platte River campground 11:20 p.m. last Monday. Her family didn't know she was pregnant. So it says here, she admitted to giving birth to a newborn during a camping trip, then repeatedly beating the girl until she inflicted injuries that caused the baby to die. Investigators assumed the baby died of natural causes until the doctor who performed the autopsy in Grand Rapids described the injuries as consistent with blunt force trauma. Officers say Alice waived her Miranda rights and admitted several times that she freaked out and beat her child in the head and body with closed fists. And just to show you how, it's like people complain about too many people and stuff like that and contraceptive, and you see kind of behind the scenes of how hard it is to really come into this world, how much you're hated and despised. And then, of course, then there's other places, other examples where you see where life is, precious. It says here, firemen caught baby thrown by burning woman after building collapse. A child who witnessed the aftermath of a residential building collapse in Philadelphia on Monday says the firemen successfully caught a baby that was thrown out of a window. So I saw the whole house was down. I saw the house next to it falling over. I saw the fireman. This dude was burnt up. They were hosing him down with the fire hose. They threw this baby out of the window because the girl was on fire and the fireman had to catch the baby and all. A Finnish politician compares abortion to butchery and laments animals more protected than unborn. You see this a lot in our society, where human life, especially the ones that just come into life, aren't really all that precious or respected, but animals have more rights than people. Finnish Interior Ministry, Pave Räsänen, has caused a small uproar with comments comparing abortion to butchery and saying that animals are better protected under the law than unborn human beings. She's now being blamed in the press for a sudden increase in resignations from the Evangelical Lutheran State Church, saying animals may not be slaughtered in a painful manner, but it is not permitted to even discuss the painfulness of abortion. She says that an abortion-aged child is not a numb piece of tissue, rather an individual that can feel pain. She also described abortion as a silent taboo in Pandora's box, saying that consequences of opening this up are feared. We have to consider whether we have the courage to act in the face of general public opinions or norms, peer pressure, and sometimes even the law. Says the next day, Finnish newspapers reported that 960 people had formally quit the Lutheran Church in response to her comments. And the last article I have on this type news, bomb blows man's legs off after reported illegal abortion clinic in Peru. 6-year-old Peruvian man is fighting for his life after a bomb exploded at his home. It says an explosion his family believes came as retaliation after he turned his neighbors in for running an illegal abortion facility. The bomb severed his legs, fractured both arms. He's a construction worker. They said his lower extremities flew about 100 feet, said his wife. He was getting back from breakfast, and when he was about to enter the house, he stepped on the explosive that mutilated his legs. First, security inspectors suspected that a gas leak had caused the incident, but they were later ruled out that possibility. Said we had already been threatened by them. Said Anise, they did it in retaliation for us telling the authorities that they had run a clandestine abortion clinic. Thousands of anti-government protesters tear-gassed by Peruvian police. The riot police blocked the passage of thousands of anti-government protesters marching in Congress's Peru capital of Lima. They used tear gas and water cannons on activists who slammed government corruption and called on the president for change. Evidence mounts agent provocateurs used by Brazilian police. Demonstrators say police infiltrator threw the Molotov cocktail used to justify severe police violence. Police sent infiltrators and agent provocateurs into crowds of protesters in Rio de Janeiro Monday, the first day of the Pope's visit to Brazil, as extensive video footage and witness testimony strongly suggest. This was used as a pretext for police to charge on hundreds of demonstrators with water cannons, tear gas, rubber bullets, and attack protesters and journalists alike with blunt force objects. So, military police released a video shortly after the police crackdown, allegedly showing that the repression was a direct response to the protesters' violence. Witnesses recount horror scene as Spain remembers Santiago train crash victims. So this is what I'm going to leave you with. All these crashes that are happening recently. A minute silence has been held to remember the 78 people who died in one of Spain's worst train crashes. Another 32 are in critical condition. This guy's actually, I think he's being charged with homicide, the driver. Italy coach crash. This is from the 29th. At least 38 people dead near Avellino. So a coach has plunged off a flyover in southern Italy, leaving at least 38 people dead in the country's worst road accident for decades. Fell down a steep hill. Swiss police say 35 injured in train collision from, again, July 29. 35 people were injured, 5 of them seriously, in head-on collision of 2 trains in western Switzerland made late Monday, police said. 5 people, including child, killed in Pennsylvania helicopter crash. Says 5 people, including children, were killed when a helicopter crashed into a heavily wooded area of northeastern Pennsylvania. To bus crashes, youth pastor, pregnant wife among dead in Indiana bus crash. A youth pastor and his wife, who was 8 months pregnant, and a third person were killed after a bus returning from a church summer camp crashed off an Indianapolis interstate. 37 passengers were on the bus when it overturned just a mile from the Baptist church where the bus was heading. Man. Flood sweeps tour bus 300 yards off course. No one hurt in freak Arizona accident or incident. Flash floodwaters swept a tour bus with 33 people aboard hundreds of yards down a wash in northwestern Arizona. The vehicle flipped on its side, but amazingly no one was injured, says officials. It was bound for Vegas. So I guess the moral of the story is be careful in public transportation. And also, these trains go, and it makes you wonder. I try to look at the different angles. Are they trying to push automation? Well, what's more safe? Computers and automation or humans? So, anyways, thank you for joining me, guys. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thanks.